Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're doing something a little bit different, and honestly, it's completely fascinating. We are pulling back the curtain to analyze a strategic, behind-the-scenes pitch document. You see, this isn't some polished public press release. It's the foundational blueprint for a brand new African AI organization called MaestrIA Intelligence. We're going to unpack exactly how they plan to shape the future of artificial intelligence across the continent, analyzing the core concepts they're using to build their identity from the ground up.
Okay, let's dive into this, because right off the bat, we're hitting a massive strategic dilemma. The question of whether this organization is a research agency, a think tank, or a consulting firm. Well, that actually wasn't meant for the public. It was pulled directly from a private note the author left for themselves at the very end of their pitch script. Keep this question in the back of your mind as we go through this explainer, because how they answer this is going to dictate their entire future, and we'll see exactly why that is a bit later on.
So before an organization can define what it is, it really has to define the problem it's solving, right? The source script frames a high-stakes global reality. The AI revolution is absolutely here. It's fundamentally transforming how we work, how we innovate, and how leaders make critical decisions. But here's the catch the authors point out. To truly benefit from this revolution, a society can't just passively consume technology. No way. They have to deeply understand it, anticipate how it's going to evolve, and most importantly, build localized solutions adapted to their own specific societal realities.
To answer that absolutely massive challenge, the script formally introduces their proposed solution. At its baseline, MaestrIA Intelligence defines itself as an agency of research, analysis, and strategic support dedicated to AI, data, and emerging technologies. Notice how broad that is? They aren't just out here coding algorithms. They're positioning themselves at the very intersection of data, strategy, and emerging tech to act as a crucial guide for everyone else.
From that definition, we get their core mission, which breaks down into three very distinct, actionable goals. First up, fostering understanding, so creating the actual knowledge base. Second, guiding organizations, taking that newly acquired knowledge and helping others safely apply it. And third, creating spaces for exchange, basically bringing people together to discuss both the immense opportunities and the very real challenges linked to AI. They're setting themselves up to be the central hub for AI adoption in African societies.
Let's move on and see how this builds from a broad mission statement into actual daily operations. The pitch document neatly divides their work into four foundational pillars. What's brilliant here is the logical flow. It moves from passive observation and understanding in steps 1 and 2, so researching and watching, straight into direct strategic action in steps 3 and 4, consulting and capacity building. Let's break each of these down to really grasp their strategy.
Pillar 1 is all about research and analysis. The pitch emphasizes the critical need to decode major AI trends by producing original studies, reports, and content. And this is absolutely vital. You can't build a localized AI strategy based solely on data from Silicon Valley or Europe, You need original knowledge that reflects regional realities. By generating their own research, MaestrIA is laying down the factual bedrock that the rest of their entire operation is going to stand on.
But once you have all that research, what do you actually do with it? Well, that brings us to Pillar 2, Watch, or Continuous Ecosystem Monitoring. The core tool here is a dedicated AI newsletter. And this isn't just some basic email blast. It's a continuous rhythm of awareness. They plan to share technological innovations and track the evolution of AI both globally and specifically within Africa. It's really about democratizing the knowledge so that everyone from a university student to a CEO stays informed.
Now we shift gears from theory directly into application with Pillar 3, Consulting and Strategic Support. This is the practical, real-world business application of all that research and monitoring we just talked about. MaestrIA plans to step into enterprises, institutions, and organizations to help them identify specific AI opportunities. They aren't just handing over a dense research paper and leaving. They're actively building adapted corporate strategies to make sure AI is implemented effectively to solve actual on-the-ground business problems.
Finally, we hit Pillar 4, Capacity Building. And honestly, this is the human element of the pitch, and arguably the most important piece of the whole puzzle. You can have the best AI strategy in the world, but it means absolutely nothing without skilled people to execute it. This pillar focuses on training programs, workshops, and awareness campaigns targeted at literally everyone, professionals, students, and top-level decision-makers. AI transformation requires a sensitized, educated workforce at every single level of the economy.
So we understand what MaestrIA wants to do, but looking at the sheer scale of those four pillars, we kind of have to pause and ask, who are the essential partners needed to actually make this ecosystem a reality? I mean, they can't do this alone. And this brings us right back to the tension we introduced at the very start of this explainer. The shift from what they do to who they're doing it for creates a massive strategic headache for the founders.
Now, what's really interesting here is the sheer diversity of their target audience, pulled directly from the author's notes. You've got international development agencies like GIZ and foreign donors, you have local governments, you have academic universities, and you have private enterprises. Getting all of these groups on board is incredibly complex because, think about it, a private enterprise wants consulting to boost their profits, while a government or a university wants a think tank to guide policy.
And that leads us straight to the behind-the-curtain meta-strategy note. At the end of drafting this entire pitch, the author paused to leave a critical note for themselves regarding their positioning. They realized that depending on which of those partners they're talking to, their identity needs to shift. The way they introduce themselves is going to fundamentally change the perception of their credibility and their utility to these vastly different organizations.
So this creates a really fascinating identity crisis for them. On one side, you have the think tank label. This carries heavy academic, policy-driven weight. It signals neutrality, public good, and deep research, which is perfect for attracting governments, universities, and donors like GIZ. On the other side, you have the consulting firm label. This has a corporate action-oriented appeal. It signals efficiency, profit generation, and immediate business solutions, which is exactly what private enterprises want to hear.
So the crucial point is that the choice of their central word, literally the label they put on their front door, matters immensely. As the author notes, it strongly alters how partners perceive them. If they lean too far into research, businesses might think they're way too theoretical. But if they lean too far into consulting, development agencies might view them as purely commercial and withhold funding. Finding the perfect combination of these words is the key to unlocking the right partnerships.
But here is how the pitch resolves that tension. Regardless of the label they ultimately choose, whether they lean think tank or consulting firm, they anchor everything in a unifying vision. They state clearly that they believe artificial intelligence must be an accessible technology, it must be implemented responsibly, and it has to create value for all of society, not just a select few. That core belief remains totally steady no matter who happens to be sitting across the negotiating table.
When you combine those daily operations with that unifying vision, you get their ultimate ambition. MaestrIA wants to contribute to the emergence of a true African AI ecosystem. The vital takeaway here is a massive shift in power dynamics. They explicitly want to move the continent away from merely being a consumer of foreign technologies toward actively producing its own knowledge, developing innovative local solutions, and driving its own economic and social transformation. And this brilliantly illustrates their entire journey in one simple, powerful tagline straight from their script. Comprendre l'IA, construire l'avenir. Understand AI, build the future. It perfectly encapsulates everything we've talked about today. The first half, Understand AI, covers their research, their analysis, and their newsletter. The second half, Build the Future, covers their consulting, their strategy, and their capacity building. It beautifully marries the academic with the actionable. So I'm going to leave you with the very dilemma the authors faced, but turn right back over to you. As this massive technological shift happens, how do you see the pieces fitting together? Whether it's driven by a research agency, a think tank, or a consultancy, how will you plug into this rapidly emerging AI ecosystem? Because one thing is absolutely certain from this pitch document. The future of AI is being built right now, and understanding it is the only way to ensure you're part of it.